start. And
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the service. We're just having a little technical glitch, and we will be starting the service momentarily. Please sit tight, and we'll be right with you.
Amanda, can you make USNF the co-host, please?
I did, and now I don't see them anymore.
It may have signed on.
I got him.
Thanks.
thank you all. Thank you for your patience. No, they're not getting music. Are you getting music, folks?
Yes, we have music.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for your patience with the Zoom difficulties. Welcome to our worship service from the Unitarian Society of Northampton and Florence. I'm Amanda, and I'm your Zoom tech host this morning. Steve is our second host. I'm very glad to see you all here. We strive to be a congregation that welcomes people of all ages, races, religious beliefs, backgrounds, gender identities, and abilities. We belong to the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, and we are guided and inspired by its values and principles. Those values and principles move us to remember that we in Northampton inhabit unceded land of the Pecumtuck and Nipmuc peoples. Our values and principles remind us to acknowledge our responsibility to face all of the painful legacies of dispossession and systemic racism that are part of our collective history, even as we affirm and celebrate the legacies that inspire us. We are here to support and celebrate one another and to renew ourselves with hope and gratitude and new resolve. If you are new or returning after a time away, welcome. We are very glad you're here. Please feel free to fill out a virtual visitor card. Doing that allows us to put you on our email contact list. There is a link to the card in the chat. We ask that you remain muted throughout the service and turn off your videos except during the greeting, in order to help the technology work as smoothly as possible. We hope you'll stay for social hour afterwards. It is a great way to engage in meaningful conversations with people you might not otherwise have met. Today, we will offer a breakout group for parents and caregivers, no matter what age children. If you would like to participate, please put a P before your name. And now we'll begin our service.
Again did the earth shift. Again did the nights grow short and the days long. And the people of the earth were glad, and they celebrated each in their own ways.
You'll see Booker lighting the chalice. Our chalice holds the elements of the 4 directions: earth, air, fire, and water.
Please join Jessica in reading with her.
The lamp oil for earth, the air that feeds the flame, the fire we light, and the chalice itself, the cup, symbol of water. We acknowledge the light we need to guide us now, the light of commitment, the light of loving community, the light of love, joy, and hope.
The Green Man is a creature of story and myth who is thousands of years old. Usually his face is covered by foliage, which is very often sprouting from his mouth. The name Green Man is a 20th century invention. To some people today, he represents a figure who is an environmental guardian, the keeper of the forest and woods and streams. But there are many, many stories of green folks, from ancient Celtic gods to Martians to trolls and even friendly ogres. Our service today celebrates the solstice as we explore the fun and the meaning in some of the green stories. And in that light, I invite you now to join in singing the hymn, Rising Green.
Rise
Good morning. We are going to take a moment to do a virtual greeting right now. So if you'd like to turn on your video, please do so that you can wave to everyone or greet people however you would like to for today. And we also invite you to go to the top right of your screen where you see 9 squares. It looks like a waffle. If you click on that, you should be able to see everybody in gallery view. And you can kind of scroll through and wave hi. It's so nice to see everyone here today.
Hope everybody really enjoyed that wonderful prelude. Thank you, Milo, Dash, Reed, and of course, Lemmy for the production. Great way to start the service.
You're welcome to type into the chat if you want to greet people that way. And if
So
you're
wonderful to see you all. Wonderful, wonderful. Anyone who's here for the first time and you'd like to introduce yourself, we would love to say hello to you by name. But we don't want to call you out without your assent. Gabrielle and Daniel, hello, Ellen. Hello, Ellen. Reese, Nancy. Good morning, everyone. It's so wonderful to see you. Gail, you're wearing a story hat, or is that just stories in the background? Oh, it's just a wonderful something in the background. So it was wonderful for everyone to see each other. We'll give you a chance to greet each other again at the end of the service. And
actually, Janet, if people would like to keep their videos on for our first story today,
oh, okay.
That would be great. If you would like, you will have a part in the story.
Oh, okay.
So you'll see it'll come sort of near the middle of the story. My name is Jessica Harwood, and I'm the Director of Faith Development and Community Engagement. And our story today is called The Oak King and the Holly King. It's adapted by Erica Barron. Long ago in Celtic folklore, there were 2 gods who were siblings. And you will get to see them right now. Here they are. The first god that I want to tell you about is the Oak King. Actually, they'll introduce themselves. Sorry, Oak Lord, take it away.
I am the Oak Lord. I stand for life, light, and warmth. Wherever I go, I bring growth, vitality, and abundance.
Oh, sister, your enthusiasm grows tiresome. I am the Holly King. I rule over death, cold, and darkness. Wherever I go, I bring decay, stillness, and hibernation.
As you can see, these siblings were rivals. And each year, after a time of rest, the Oak Lord would grow strong and mighty, and the light would gradually increase, bringing with it warmth and abundance. I'm sure you might be able to guess what we call that season. But each year, at the height of her power, the Oak Lord would be overthrown by the Holly King. Then the light would gradually wane, cold would come, and the land would grow dormant. And here we find ourselves now in this season. But then the Oak Lord would challenge the Holly King once again. The cycle repeated itself year after year, again and again. This battle continued, but the siblings were equal, so the cycles continued predictably. But soon there became people on the earth, and that is your role. So the people preferred one of these siblings over the other, as you may guess. And if you'd like to vote for one of the siblings, you're welcome to at the bottom of your screen with your reaction tools. So there was the Oak Lord. And if you're somebody who prefers the summer and the warmth and the energy, you can give a thumbs up in your reaction tool for the Oak Lord. And there was the Holly King. the god of winter, of cold, of stillness, of death and decay. So if you prefer that one, you could put up your clapping tool. And as you probably all noticed, there was a strong preference for our summer lord, the Oak Lord. Now, people all over the world preferred the light and the warmth, and they feared the darkness and the cold. Each year, they would celebrate the victory of the Oak Lord and put all of their energy into supporting her. And over time, the people became more powerful. They began to invent new ways to find light in the darkness and warmth in the cold. So all of you that are playing the part of people, you're thinking about your power now. Finally, if they wished it, they could spend all of their time in the light and the warmth. This was not the good news that it seemed. At first, people didn't notice the shifts in the balance. And then finally, they could ignore it no longer. So you can see how you feel as a person. Darkness was disappearing from the land, driven out by millions of lights that people had created. Animals, birds, plants, even people began to suffer the effects of light unbalanced by darkness. And the cold began to flee too. The whole world was getting warmer. Summer started sooner and lasted longer. Ice that had been frozen for eons began to melt. Migrating birds and animals weren't sure when to begin their migration. And plants found themselves rooted in places where they couldn't survive. Weather patterns were unlike anything anyone had ever seen. There were huge storms, extreme drought, and massive flooding. And as you might guess, our important character, our Holly King, was getting sick. The people realized that they needed the Holly King. What would happen if the balance continued to be destroyed? And the Oak Lord realized it too. And though they had always been competitors, she loved her brother deeply and could not live without him. The longest night came, as it will tomorrow night on the solstice, and the Oak Lord and the Holly King met. But this time, the Oak Lord laid down her sword. She came, open-handed, to her brother, who was struggling just to stay on his feet. The Oak Lord wrapped the Holly King in a tight embrace, and she promised to set aside their differences and to help her brother heal. Together, they committed to try to restore the balance, but they knew that they would need the support of the people. And thank you all for your support, people. And a huge thank you to Daniel and Gabriela Martinez for playing our lead roles. So if you had your camera on to be part of the story, I invite you now to turn it off, and that just makes sure that our stream goes smoothly. And I like that story for so many reasons. Right now, it's helping me to think about all the people who may have challenged me this year and consider, what if I learned from those people and the challenges? And I'm wondering, in this cold stillness of winter, if there are ways to make amends and learn to support each other. My brother and I are opposites, just like the Oak Lord and the Holly King. But the older we get, the more we've come to appreciate our differences. And still, I'm always surprised when he comes to me open-handed, just like the Oak Lord did at the end of the story. When Maggie and I were fostering twins a few weeks ago, he called almost every day to see what he could do. As siblings, we can be there for each other in a way that no one else can. Of course, there are ways that we're very different, but also uncannily similar. And learning to be kind to this person who's at once so much like me and so different feels like a powerful practice. In this winter that's going to be especially lonely, I want to make sure to take the time to appreciate the people in my life. And as many of you voted, I would also be on Team Oak Lord. I love the long, warm days that I can pack full of activities, adventures, runs, bike rides. And I resent these short days where 4:30 rolls around and I feel like it's already time for bed. I'm a doer, trying to keep myself as busy as possible, not wanting to pause, to feel, or take it all in. It's uncomfortable to be still and be stuck inside, just as this time of COVID has felt boring and long for so many kids. I want to be busy. And we're taught that being busy and productive are of the highest value, which explains why we consume so many resources, why the ocean is filled with multiple floating trash islands, why the amount of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere is increasing faster than ever, why climate change is happening. Finally, we're learning that unchecked growth doesn't work. Many of you have realized that for a long time, and we're taking the time to rest, to look for balance, and appreciate decay. If the Holly King and the Oak King are able to make amends and try to reset the balance, what is our role as people? Can we learn to rest, to be still, to think and consider before acting? In this time of quiet and dark, how do you want to follow the lead of the Holly King? To pause, to breathe, to consider.
Thank you, Jessica. Every week it has been our custom to accept donations and gifts and contributions from everyone participating in the service. And we are sharing those donations with good organizations that are helping people who are struggling in the COVID crisis and in other areas. So we're also grateful for all the donations that continue to help support Arita and her family. And our offering time gives us an opportunity to be very grateful for all the gifts that we offer, including the gifts of music. And I hope you very much enjoy this contribution from the USNF Choir.
O little town of
Mark say? Okay, Mark, you'll get your encore in just a minute. So the image of the green man is often found carved in wood or stone in medieval churches and cathedrals. When Christianity came to Britain and Ireland, the new beliefs mingled with the old ones. People did not give up their woodland sprites, fairies, or old gods. In fact, throughout all of Europe, Christian churches were built on sites that had been known as sacred places of earlier religions. The church in our partner village of Homrod Carcen-Falva in Romania has been there since the 1300s. And when Booker and I visited there in 2011, Eniko Benedek, who's the wife of the minister, Mihai, told me that that church had been built on an ancient sacred site. And she took me into the church and into the courtyard, and she said, "Janet, stand here. Can you feel it?" We were very quiet together, very intent. What do you think? Were the ancient spirits still there? As with ancient sacred sites, the symbols and traditions of the Christmas holiday, the fires, the candles, evergreen trees, exchanging gifts, all of those persisted with the conversion of Europe to Christianity. In fact, they probably helped in the conversion of Europe to Christianity. Sometimes the nativity stories, which of course in the Bible happened in the Middle Eastern temperate climate of Palestine, were reimagined as having happened in the snowy woods, as in the song that the choir is going to sing now.
In the
celebration of solstice is a time to celebrate the earth and our connection to nature. It's in the dark of the earth where seeds germinate, root down, and grow. The green boughs of winter remind us of growth and life, even in the darkness. Please join me for an earth meditation, holding your evergreen bough if you brought one, or imagining that you're holding an evergreen bough. And during this meditation, I'll invite you to face all of the 4 directions. You could turn in body or spirit, taking messages from each direction and each element. This meditation is adapted from Starhawk and Eric Walker Wickstrom, and my wife Maggie Shar will play banjo. I invite you to begin facing east. It's the east where the sun rises and the element of air resides. Feel the awakening of spring and sunrise as you fill your body with air. Call upon the dew of dawn and the gentle breezes of springtime to connect to all that is new and awakening in you. Now, turn south in body or spirit. Looking south, we experience the power of fire, the energy of summer. Imagine the summer's heat and the strong noon sun shining upon you. What is the fire of transformation and change calling you to do? And now turn west. Facing west, we're oriented towards the setting of the sun, the power of water. Call upon the quiet cool of the evening, the crisp colors of autumn, the flow of water in a stream, to discover the ways that you're flowing with the tide and inspired to reflect. Remember that our bodies are almost completely composed of water. What message lies within you? And lastly, turn to the north as you are willing and able, the home of the Holly King. The north holds the power of the earth, the stillness of night. Call upon the impenetrable silence of midnight, the clarifying cold of midwinter, the stability of the mountains to ground your every step and support your endeavors. Pause now to connect to these energies in the earth and how they ground, inspire, and compel you.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Maggie. We now have a story. The story is called Green Beings. Once upon a time, a green being from somewhere in the galaxy appeared in the swamp. You know that in stories, Martians are usually green, but this green being came from even farther away than Mars. This being did not have gender as we understand it, and so the author of this story uses the pronoun they, them to refer to the being. Standing in the swamp, the being saw a huge someone walking toward them. The someone, as you can see, was a giant ogre whose name was Shrek. The being started jumping up and down. I didn't know it could do that. In amazement. All the jumping made Shrek dizzy. Whoa, he said, who are you and what are you doing in my swamp? I am far, far away from here, said the green being. It is very lonely where I live. So I'm looking for other green beings to talk and play with, and I've heard that there are some on planet Earth. The being paused for a moment, and then they said, I'm excited that you are green, but I see that you are not who I'm actually looking for, Shrek thought, and you are not actually on planet Earth. But that was too complicated, and he didn't want to disappoint the being right away, so he kept this thought to himself. Instead, Shrek said, it's getting dark. Tonight is a special night called the solstice. It's the darkest night of the year. I make a huge fire, old friends come together, and we all tell stories. You can tell us your story then. In fact, right now you can help me make the bonfire. So they did. It got dark. Friends came and sat by the fire. The Cookie Man told a story. Once there was an evil priest named Farquhar who banished the fairy tale creatures to Shrek's swamp. Yes, said Shrek, and I didn't like that one bit. It was my swamp, and I liked living there by myself. But that was then, and now is different. Fiona told about a beautiful princess locked in a tower under a spell that could only be broken by a true love's kiss. It is a great story full of dragons and donkeys, love and adventure, secrets and shame, and learning about your own worth, and of course, good triumphs over evil in the end. It's such a good story, it even got made into a movie with sequels. She tells the story very well, said Shrek proudly. He turned to the visitor. Now it's your turn. There's not much to say, said the green being. At this point, the author felt a tug on her sleeve. There was Fiona. What? Who? How? The author stuttered. You need to stop calling them the green being, said Fiona. They are a creature with as much worth and dignity as you and I. They deserve to have a name. How about green bean? Asked the author flippantly. That was the first thing that came into her head. But Fiona was a kind ogre, and she just looked thoughtful. What about Fava? She suggested. And then she disappeared. Fava's eyes glowed in the bonfire's flames. There's not much to say, they said again. I come from a place very far from here. It's dark all the time and very, very, very lonely. I spend too much time by myself, so I have been all over the galaxy looking for other green beings. Suddenly, a stream of light came from Fava's middle eye, and they began to project pictures on the ground. Do you know where I might find these? No one had ever seen anyone like that, and they had seen a lot of strange creatures. But then the leprechaun spoke up. That one is called the Long Man, he said, pointing to a large figure on a hillside. It is actually a picture made by humans, made out of chalk. It reminds them of someone who lived long, long ago, a being of the woods and streams. He is no more. And the other? His true nature and identity are also lost in time. People call him the Green Man now, but no one knows his real name. Perhaps he has many. My relatives once lived on the same islands that both of them came from. But that was a long, long time ago. Fava looked sad for the very first time. "But look," said the leprechaun, "why don't you stay here with us?" He glanced over at Shrek to gauge Shrek's reaction, and he saw that Shrek was reaching for Fiona's hand and smiling. The leprechaun went on, "I'm pretty sure that you won't find what you're looking for if you go to those islands. In fact, I have no idea how you would even get there. But if there's any place where the Long Man or Green Man might reappear, it's here, where stories are made." Puss in Boots began to play his mandolin. They all looked up at the sky, and they were glad to be together on the longest night of the year. Here's a song that they sang. Let's all sing it together now. My younger daughter, Kylie, who is now 12, asked me recently what Christmas was like when I was a child. And she gave me an idea for our family Zoom on Christmas Day, which was to ask everyone to share a holiday story or memory. I think the grandkids would really enjoy that. And they probably enjoy sharing their own stories too. Magic and miracles were part of Christmas when I was little. Magic and miracles are part of solstice too. In many, many cultures, people lit fires and participated in rituals to beat back the forces of darkness and encourage the sun to begin more brightly day by day. They huddled together for warmth. They looked up at a clear winter sky that sparkled with stars in a way that we can no longer imagine. And I have to believe they were glad to be together. If you know the first Shrek movie, you might have noticed that the fairy tale creatures that the Cookie Man included in his story did not all appear in the movie, especially not the ones that belong to Disney. Cookie Man embellished a bit, as storytellers often do, as everyone in my family will probably do when we share our stories on Christmas Day. You might also have noticed a tiny green man with a red flag who doesn't come from any movie studio. Some people put him at the end of their driveways with a sign that says, "Slow down." And I think they do that to try to keep their children safe, or their grandchildren, or themselves, or their neighbors, or even the people driving by. Jessica reminded us that being busy and productive and doing 8 things at once, none of that is very good for us. So I hope you tell stories and listen to stories in the days ahead. I know you will continue to reach out to one another. I hope we all take time to slow down and that we keep ourselves and our neighbors safe. Winter will be long, but we can remind ourselves that every day the sun will shine for a few minutes longer than it did the day before. Thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you for listening to all our stories and our silliness and our seriousness. Go in peace, and please now join in singing together, "Deck the Halls."